friends, I hope you liked the last episode. The dragon fight has been an episode I've had on my mind for quite a while. And I think today it's time for me to peel back the curtain a little to show you what went into its making, and hence where the high number of levels have come from. And while I do that, I am going to start taking down this ceiling so I can put the new one up. So stick around to the end of the episode and see how that goes. Let's see if I've actually figured out how to put timestamps in my videos yet, eh? Let's go. Right then, folks. Ever since I started this Skyblock Let's Play, I knew I wanted to make an epic and cinematic dragon fight episode, which, to be fair, is going to take a bit of planning, and I knew that going into it. And it all started in my sketchbook. Now, don't judge, I know I'm not the best artist, but I do like to plan and sketch out builds, because you never know when inspiration is going to hit, and I'm not always at my computer when it does. I loved the idea of bringing the end dimension to the end portal in the nether, so I thought I'd start by surrounding it with the obsidian pillars and maybe a dragon in the middle or on the fortress. And I knew that because I wanted to build up to the dragon fight over a couple of episodes, I focused on the pillars first, and the dragon was still a bit too daunting at this stage. I hadn't quite figured out how on earth I was going to build a dragon, or I don't even know where to start building those kind of big organic structures. So yeah, definitely going to concentrate on getting the pillars in place first. So with my sketchbook as my reference, I hopped into my creative world and created my pillars just to get the kind of the dimensions and the placements right. And this was made so much easier with Lithmatica, which I used to pretty much copy and paste elements into the right places. I built a bit, I copied a bit, I extended it upwards. And yeah, let me know if you would like a bit more about how I'm using Lithmatica this way. While I have downloaded World Edit, I do find it all a little confusing. I'm not quite familiar with it, and I don't necessarily have the time to devote to learning World Edit. However, I've used Lithmatica for a number of years now and can pretty much get it to do what I want it to do. Don't ask me to do anything complicated in it, because I don't. It's probably got much wider scope than I actually use it for. But if you would like to know how I'm using Lithmatica and all my little tips and tricks, I don't know, then let me know, and maybe I could put something short together to show you how I use it. Might be useful, we'll see. Let me know in the comments down below. So once I got my pillars built and their placements right, I looked at the materials list and nearly fell off my chair. I needed so much obsidian. I mean, other black coloured blocks, just didn't look right. The End is kind of famous for its massive obsidian pillars, and making them out of black wool or black stone just wasn't going to do. So I did modify the design and try to cut back on how much obsidian I was using. So I incorporated some crying obsidian, as I thought it would look pretty cool if they were kind of organic looking. It had been ripped out of the End Island, so their magic was leaking into the void. Even after I'd done my trimming back and editing, as it were, the materials list was still a bit mad. I needed 2 double chests worth of obsidian. And when you don't have access to the End yet, and you can't mine the pillars themselves to recreate them in the nether or whatever it is you wanted to do, and you don't really have a lava lake you can pour a bucket of water on, it's pretty tricky. So I got to it and started trying to collect my materials, which meant AFKing at the gold farm, because bartering with the piglins was probably the easiest way of getting obsidian. So yeah, I AFK'd at the gold farm forever. Every morning for about an hour while I was getting ready for work, and every evening when I got home from work and was cooking my tea and having my tea or doing the dishes, etc, etc, I would AFK. Anytime I needed to do things about the house, laundry, cleaning, etc, I would AFK. This went on for about 2 weeks, if not more. You see, I found out that obsidian is actually a pretty rare drop from the piglins. It would take me about an hour of AFKing to get enough gold to fill the droppers above the pods. And I have 4 pods, or vending machines I used to call them, but I suppose they're like pods. 4 of them, so that's 36 stacks of ingots. They've got 1 dropper above each of them. And each pod has 3 piglins, so that's 12 piglins. So 3 stacks of gold ingots each. By the time the piglins had bartered all of the gold and I had manually sorted out all of the drops, because these were starting to really build up, about an hour and a half to 2 hours had passed and I'd gotten just less than or about 3 stacks of obsidian. 3 stacks. And I needed 2 double chests worth. It does mean, on the other hand, though, that I now have a lot, and I mean a lot, of other materials. I ain't going to be running out of blackstone for a while. And so, as a result of all that AFKing to get the obsidian, I reached like level 906. It's a bit anticlimactic, isn't it? I just stood there. I stood there. In game, I put my avatar there to AFK and I stood there and switched my monitor of my PC off and wandered off and did the housework. That's how I got to 906 levels. Yeah. Now, I didn't realise it at the time that you could get, I don't know how many levels. I thought it might stop at like 999. Like, I don't know, in some games you get to like 999 and it won't tick over the 1,000 or keep going. I didn't know if you could get to 1,000 levels or not, so I did a bit more AFKing. I really wanted to find out if I could get to level 1,000. Now, according to the Minecraft wiki, you can actually get to level, let me read this right, 238,609,312, which is insane. I've got no idea how you can get there. That's playing the game legitimately. That's how many levels you can get. So at the moment, as I'm recording this, tearing down my ceiling, I've got 776 levels after fighting the dragon, doing all of that. But to get to that number legitimately, that's mad. You can of course get a lot more if you play with commands, but that's just cheating, frankly, isn't it? So yeah, level 1,000. I do feel like I've hit a bit of a Minecraft bucket list achievement, and I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just now trying to not put pressure on myself to keep all of these levels. I might do a whole load of enchanting. I might go and get loads of books and enchant loads of armor and get my levels back down to a sensible number, so I don't feel so bad when I fall out of the world. I'll fall into the void and lose all those levels just like that. Anyway, where was I? Yes, now that I had all of my obsidian, it was time to start building the pillars and do some filming. So I think the pillar building scene turned out really well. All that AFKing, 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks of AFKing for maybe 2.5 minutes of footage. Yeah. That's the reality of Minecraft content creation, folks. 2.5 weeks for 2.5 minutes of footage, which yeah, is a bit bonkers. Now, I layered lots of sound effects to try and get across the magnitude of these pillars, that they are massive. I mean, yeah, of course they're hollow. I'm not AFKing for that much obsidian, but yes, they are hollow. And I had to film their construction really carefully so you couldn't see the ladder I used to get up and down on the inside of them, because how else am I going to get up and down? Now, with the pillars built, I turned my attention to the dragon. I hopped into Creative World and I attempted a big dragon. I wanted its head level with you as you jumped into the portal, but I just couldn't get the proportions right, and I knew I didn't really have the skill set to pull it off. So I changed my approach and made a dragon statue instead. And I based this design off of an incense burner I've had since I was a teenager, I think. I kept the build palette as stone to make it look a little bit more like a statue, and I made sure to keep the head at a height that would allow the dragon to watch or judge you as you jumped into the end portal. I used some shroom lights for a soft glow to its eyes to give it a little bit of life, or to make it feel like the real end dragon might be watching you through the statue, which is kind of spooky, isn't it? Now, I did have to swap out some of the materials I used for the supporting structures, as I'd not actually been to the end yet, so I didn't actually have any end stone for the dragon to sit on, or for the little kind of like step pebbly islandy bits leading up to the top of the fortress tower. That's why the dragon statue is on a half sphere of birch planks, and why I had to convert all of my sand to make the sandstone to get access up to the top, because sandstone does look a lot like end stone. So with everything built and in place, it was just down to me to do some very cringy acting, she says in inverted commas, sorry about that, and to go and fight the actual end dragon. But I was genuinely nervous about the fight. I watched Pixel Riffs do it when he played Skyblock in 1.16. I don't know how many years ago that was now. And I don't think I should have done that, because I saw how holy the island was. And yeah, I got incredibly nervous that the dragon was just going to fling me into the void, or I was going to misstep and just fall. And yeah, on a side note, I've actually got no idea where all the golems came from. I think I put some extra beds down with the villagers for some reason, so the villagers have spawned them in, and it's kind of the same for the cats. I got a feeling the cats are connected to how many claimed beds there are in a village or something like that. And again, yeah, I got no idea where they came from, but yeah, cats. And there you have it. There's the origin of what I'm now going to be calling the Lost Gateway. And yeah, how I got to 1,000 levels rather anticlimactically, and now I'm not going to mention it ever again. Well, maybe not, who knows. But yes, there we go, there's the story of the dragon episode, a bit of a different one for today. And yeah, I'm just in the process of putting the ceiling together. The vaulted ceiling was very pretty, I guess. I kind of like the shape of it, and it's something that I could maybe use in another build. I'm not entirely sure where, but it's a good concept, and I'll probably keep the block palette in the back of my mind. But at the moment, it's not quite fitting the vibe. You see, this main island of mine, my main base, is supposed to be inspired by Laputa, Castle in the Sky. And down here, I want it to be kind of dark and dingy. And if you remember much of the film, especially near the end, when they do actually get to Laputa and go down into the main body of it, it's actually quite sci-fi. So I'm using a lot of I say unnatural colours. I'm going to swap out my green moss carpet for some blue. I've kept everything else quite blue, given the lapis lazuli, which is supposed to be like the crystal that makes everything work. I've added some weird floaty glass bits as like those little data cube type things that kind of float around in Laputa itself. So yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. I'm a lot happier with this design than I was the vaulted ceiling. I feel like it fits my aesthetic and what I wanted from this build. And finally I have it finished! Well, for the most part anyway. That's going to be it for this episode, folks. Don't forget to leave a comment if you'd like me to explain a little bit about how I use Litematica for big builds, or even if you'd like to see more of my sketchbook. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to, and I will see you all next time. Until then, take care, friends. Bye!